I'm currently in the process of re-uploading some of my older videos in order to make them more compliant with YouTube's policies on reused content. So here are my thoughts on Sam Mendes's 1917 as they were originally presented back in 2019.
During the First World War, two British soldiers receive orders in a race against time to cross over into enemy territory and deliver a message that could potentially save the lives of 1,600 fellow comrades. These two men only have one night to deliver the message. That's it, only a handful of hours. So as soon as this film starts, there's already a built-in ticking clock to hook the audience into the story. There's an overwhelming sense of urgency as our two main heroes have no time to spare as they embark on this perilous and seemingly impossible mission. And the entire film is presented as one single tracking shot, which we've seen before, most recently with Alejandro Iñárritu's Birdman, but the technique in 1917 feels more powerful because it is utilized far more purposefully. The single tracking shot is a tool that helps place you, the viewer, alongside these two soldiers, planting you right in the middle of all of the dreadful action that they face. It's like a first-person or VR experience, but done incredibly well. This is no cheap gimmick. It doesn't even feel like a fun stylistic choice. It is a well-executed exercise in placing the audience into the story being told. You are on the ground with these troops. This one-shot perspective is a tool that helps elevate the material, and the result is one of the most immersive experiences I've ever seen. It also helps that Roger Deakins is involved with the cinematography in order to pull off a technical accomplishment such as this, because this movie is visually stunning. Yes, everything is dirty and grimy, and the action is bloody and gritty, but there are certain scenes in this film that are just serene. I'm talking about scenes that feel absolutely peaceful and calm amidst all of the chaos and madness. There's a certain beauty or picturesque quality found in the moments in between all of the bursts of violence and war. I know Deakins won an Academy Award for Blade Runner 2049, but I would love to see him win again, especially since his competition is for movies like The Irishman, Joker, The Lighthouse, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I don't mean any disrespect to those movies, they're all aesthetically wonderful films, but what Deakins pulled off here was magic. 1917 is a fantastic example of what it means for film to be a visual medium. This is visual storytelling at its finest. There are a handful of scenes that don't even include dialogue, but you can tell exactly what is going on or what our characters are thinking based solely on the experiences that they're having. Hell, the only real expositional scene comes from when our two main characters are given the order to cross into enemy territory. So everything else that occurs is a harrowing and breathtaking visual experience. And though it can often seem grand in scale, the film remains wonderfully intimate since it's a simple story about two guys needing to deliver a message before sunrise. Like, that's the entire movie. It's so fucking simple, I love it so much. Our two main characters, whom I haven't even named yet, aren't even special. Schofield and Blake are just two everyman kind of guys. There's absolutely nothing particularly exceptional about either of them, and yet their ordinariness makes their extraordinary efforts come across as all the more heroic. We can feel the fear and vulnerability that these two characters have, and overcoming those flaws in order to do the right thing and save as many lives as they possibly can is what makes these two men heroes. And what a powerful message that is, that anyone from anywhere can be a hero. And that's quite a refreshing theme to see, especially after viewing The Rise of Skywalker a handful of times. And that theme is amplified by the fact that our two main characters are played by relatively unknown actors who are surrounded by widely known stars like Benedict Cumberbatch, Colin Firth, Mark Strong, Richard Madden, and Andrew Scott. Yes, I know Dean Charles Chapman is King Tommen Baratheon from Game of Thrones, but that's about all he's been in, and he's so much older now than from his last appearance on Game of Thrones that I'm sure many audience members might not even recognize him. My point is, Chapman and George McKay do an excellent job of portraying these two everyday guys who are surrounded by people who can feel much more important than they are. And yet, at the end of the day, they play the heroes of this story. And I'm sure their underrated performances have been overlooked because of that fact, but I was completely captivated by McKay and Chapman because Schofield and Blake, for being these relatively unknown men who come from nowhere, were two of my favorite heroes in any movie this year. I absolutely loved rooting for these guys. However, the time-sensitive nature of the narrative doesn't really allow the audience to have any time to get to know Schofield or Blake on a personal level. I can barely tell you anything about these guys, aside from the fact that Blake has an older brother that he could potentially save if he delivers the message on time. The condensed timeline forces these two men to race against the clock on a singular mission, so there isn't any time to explore their wants or aspirations. Some people may find this as a negative thing and call the character development in the film weak, but I think it allows the audience to project their own personalities or even themselves onto these characters. Not so different from a first-person video game, which makes sense given the first-person quality that is present in the singular tracking shot. The only weak spot I found in the film involves a scene with a French woman and a baby. Now, I'm sure this scene was included into the movie in order to slow the story down a bit and give the audience some time to breathe, but I'm not sure if it was necessary. It's definitely a nice scene, but the rest of the film was so suspenseful and frantic and nerve-wracking that a quiet little moment between two human beings bonding felt out of place. The action in this movie is so tense that it gives you a sense of paranoia. You never feel as though Schofield or Blake are in a safe space. It always seems as though someone is right around the corner just waiting to kill these guys. So when our lead character is taking a moment to relax, I wanted to shout, "Come on, man, I know you want to live, but there's just no time to waste." And maybe that's the effect that the filmmakers were going for, so I'm not even sure if I can call the scene a bad one, especially since it is placed in between two of the best, most exhilarating, and most beautifully shot action set pieces in the entire damn film. So if you were disappointed with Spectre, you'll be delighted to hear that 1917 is Sam Mendes' best film since Skyfall. We've had some awesome war movies over the years, but I've never felt as though I was actually on the front lines before. I can assure you that this is a movie experience unlike any other. It packs a powerful punch, it is expertly crafted, it has a strong resonating theme, and for how grand in scale the striking visuals are, the film never loses sight of telling this small, intimate, and deeply human story. So I would likely give 1917 4.25 out of 5 stars. Thanks for watching.